Lane Kiffin out here running his mouth.
The funny thing is, Lane Kiffin was talking slick last week. We didn't have the show. And I was going through I play music when I'm, cleaning up, or play music when I'm just here, just kind of like, doing my laundry or whatever. And a line Lil Wayne said, he said, talk shit like Lane Kiffin. I was like, how old is this song? This song's from like 2013, 2014. Is like, that is Lane Kiffin. And that was like literally, the song was playing right after you text me, like, yeah, we should talk about this. And then the song played on my phone sometime shortly after that. Like, it was Lil Wayne. I think he was rapping over somebody else's beat. I can't remember which one it was. But that's just what he does. I don't know why, but some people just get off on that. But on the recruiting thing, all right, America, let's be honest here. There's racism. It's a lot of racism all over the country. But a lot of it's kind of centered around some of these places that are really, really connected to the Klan.
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi is one of those places. I didn't write the script for them. I didn't send them the uniforms, but they put their fucking cloaks on their horses, because that's what the Klan does. It's racist down there. And I'll give you a personal experience. It had nothing to do with Mississippi, but it was like, I wanted to be an Air Force recruiter. So I went and talked to my flight chief. He used to be a recruiter. He's like, where do you want to be a recruiter? I'm like, well, ultimately, I want to stay in Utah. I was trying to find out any way where I could stay in Utah and get as close as I could to retirement, to the point where I was so close, they wouldn't move me unless I, ascended to a certain rank and I got a special duty that I would have to, like, kind of apply for. So I was like, I was trying to ride that out. I was trying to get from like 13 years to about 17 and a half, somewhere around that range. And he was like, yeah, if you want to be a recruiter, he's like, a lot of people don't. The fact that you want to do it is one thing. You want to stay in Utah. I'll be honest with you, they probably won't put you out east because you're black. Because that part, they might not welcome you just kind of, being around in certain neighborhoods. I'm like, hey, I don't want to go where I'm not wanted. I'm not going there. So for Lane Kiffin to say, like, hey, sometimes it's a little tough. Maybe he has a conversation with, one of the, he's going to recruit, and an uncle or a parent says something that's kind of like, I don't really feel like dealing with this. And I'm pretty sure he's going to deal with the same thing in Louisiana. But I think in Baton Rouge, it's probably a little bit more, the culture is probably a little bit more indicative to the types of players he's going to get. So it's, if you want to win football games, you got to have a lot of fast black football players. These are just the facts. If you want to win football games in Utah, you get a bunch of Polynesians, a bunch of Pacific Islanders. That's your niche. Oregon, that's your move. California, that's your move. You want to win games from Texas to Florida, a lot of big, strong, fast black dudes. That's kind of hard to do in a state where, like, you got to deal with the Klan coming to campus because they don't like DEI, whatever the hell these people's problems are.
So here's a couple of quotes. So this is where this all started in Vanity Fair. Lane Kiffin did an interview recently. Yeah. So one of the things he said was, quote, "Hey, coach, we really like you, but my grandparents aren't letting me move to Oxford, Mississippi." That doesn't come, and this is Lane still talking, that doesn't come up when you say Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Parents were sitting here this weekend saying the campus's diversity feels so great. It feels like and here's the key word, it feels like there's no segregation. And we want that for our kid because that's the real world. End quote. So I was looking at this and I said, come on now. Ole Miss and LSU's black populations can't really be that different, can they? So, I went around, I looked over a couple of different websites. So as states, they're the two highest states as far as black population. Mississippi at 38%, Louisiana at 33%. When you break that down to LSU and Ole Miss, though, LSU's at 19% and Ole Miss is at 11%. Then you had Sark come out and talk about Ole Miss and their basket weaving and how they don't take education seriously. So on one hand, Lane Kiffin has a certain point because him and Mike Leach did go to the Capitol and help change the Mississippi State flag a few years ago. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. But at this point, Lane Kiffin is just dirty recruiting. He dirty macking. You know what I mean? Like the damage is done. You already left a team that was on the brink of a playoff, that made the national semifinal because you chased the money. 7 years, $91 million. I would have took that money too. Me and Mr. Logical had
up until Miami's last possession.
Mr. Logical
it wasn't like he left them high and dry and took all their players and they got mollywopped in the first round of their playoff. They had a lead. Like, he left them in good hands. I still think it was a snake move, but he didn't leave the cupboard bare when he left.
Yeah, and on top of that, Lane Kiffin, to Casey's point, is basically James Franklin South. He's 5-11 against top 25 teams, 5-6 top 10 teams, 5-6 at Ole Miss. He's 13-24 against top 25 teams. So you would imagine, because me and Mr. Logical had this argument, that you feel like you could be better at LSU. I said that LSU was the better job. Mr. Logical said, this ain't 1990 no more. We all got NIL, so there ain't no such thing as a better job right now. Lane Kiffin disagrees. But that brought up a bigger topic. I started seeing people around social media asking if black players should boycott SEC schools.
This is a problem. I know historically in our country, we've gone to the boycott. Traditionally, labor laws in America haven't changed without some form of a strike. There has to be some kind of force to fight the forces that be. The problem with the boycott is that the solidarity and the security isn't there with the boycott. Case in point, there's not a group that will organize it to the point where there won't be anyone who crosses the proverbial picket lines, because inherently people are selfish. Dort is out here shooting like you want to get fired. There's the ties that really bind us are there. Yes, we have connections because we're black, dealing with America, but ultimately people still want their own individual opportunities. And I think that's why a boycott would never work, because you are a cornerback, running back, whomever, and the 10 of you say, hey, we're not going. They will get 10 more people who want to play football in your spot, because there's nothing connecting all the people other than we want you to boycott because the South is racist. People are like, listen, man, I don't care. I just want to play football. I've been racist my whole life. We dealt with that whole life. But if I can take care of my family, that's all that matters. You can be racist all you want, but I'm going to take these opportunities to take care of my family. So y'all can boycott, but I'm going to be out there for my 2 days to make sure I earn my spot, to get my NIL money, to get my mom out of here, to get my dad out of here, to get my sister this, to get my family this. God forbid somebody has a kid, and you're in college and I got a kid. This is my way out, either through the degree or through football. I'm not risking all of that for this idea that everyone isn't going to be on board with.
So, a couple things. Well said. And I was trying to look at this from a more macro level.
Yeah.
And thinking of it this way, the SEC schools are football factories. And first and foremost, you know what I mean? If I'm on a player of that level, I'm trying to go to the NFL. So these schools have the best facilities. You know what I mean? They get the TV time. They get the benefit of the doubt from the college football committee, the top 25. They're in the rankings every week, even if they're unjustifiably so. But on top of that, I have a problem with wanting or putting this at the feet of
18
to 22-year-olds.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Don't
like
have who this is. I've been playing this game since my son's played since 2016. He was 7 years old. Imagine being 19 and you have people on TV telling you should boycott. I'm like, yo, give your check back. You give your check back. You don't want to deal with this. You give your check back. You come down here and tell me, listen, you're not getting paid. I'm not getting paid. Well, you're not doing that. Hence why the solidarity isn't there, because there's no cohesive planning. It's just an idea of how do we publicize our discontent and our anger with the system.
But also
have people who don't make money stop.
But taking
opportunities to make money. It's
tough. But taking it a step further, right? Looking at the SEC, right? And hopefully nobody has said this because I don't think I've heard it anywhere yet. But looking at the SEC, you look at those schools, right? There's a bunch of ACC schools in those same states.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for every South Carolina, there's a Clemson. For every Florida, there's a Florida State. You know,
it's sundown towns in every single one of these states with a top 25 college football team.
Yeah, like the SEC. The SEC got Kentucky, ACC got Louisville. So, you know what I mean? So unless you're going up north, Syracuse, Pitt.
I live in Jersey. They not all up here welcome them to open arms either. There was a slave port in New York City that was dropping people off here too. And the Irish that came over that became cops, and they've been beating black people up. They've been beating them up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, so unless everybody else is just going to go to the Big Ten, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, you can't even really go to the Big 12 because you got some Oklahomas and Kansases in there too. And you know, so I mean, like, you can't escape. So you could boycott the SEC.
The Klan got its resurgent in Indiana.
And then, so then, you know, when I was younger, when I was around that college age, if you will, my dream was I always wanted the Fab Five. Like I used to always have this alternate reality, the multiverse, where the Fab Five went to Grambling or something and, you know, took a HBCU to the Final Four. Now, that would never happen, you know what I mean? But it made me think about Deion Sanders again because, you know, he went to Jackson State, you know, and you know, he showed to some degree what was possible. Like, you would have never woke up and thought that a guy like Travis Hunter would go to a HBCU unless he got in trouble, unless it was the transfer portal, unless it was he got kicked out of his original school or something along those lines. And then you had Shador. You had all of these four-star talents, you know, at the very least that were coming to Jackson State. The problem is, and Deion wasn't there long enough to really see it through, but they were only going to Jackson State. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like FAMU wasn't getting them in that at that clip. You know, Pine Bluff wasn't getting them. Alabama A&M wasn't getting them. So from that standpoint, we only scratched the surface. And even then,
the NFL doesn't draft guys from the HBCUs.
Right.
So like once again,
they had to set up their own showcase just to get the players looked at.
And they still don't get guys from the showcase. I'm pretty sure there's a ton of wide receivers and cornerbacks and quarterbacks that are measurables are just as good as the kid out of Akron. I always pick Akron, just first ones popped in my head. But because he goes to Grambling, because he goes to Southern, they don't get looked in the NFL. So if I'm a high school player, it's hard for me to say, hey, my goal is to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
As much as I love being black, I also want to be able to take care of my family through the physical gifts that I have. And the opportunity is for me to go to LSU. The opportunity, even if it's the Ole Miss, I think people will deal with, because those black colleges are down south too.
And shout out to Alabama A&M.
I think people are willing to deal with all of that for the opportunity for something greater to take care of their family, because ultimately that's what people want. Either want to take care of themselves or take care of their family. It shouldn't be incumbent on people who are learning how to be themselves as adults to also be the moral compass that other adults try to use to dictate their personal feelings. So if you want to boycott, Don't go to your job. Don't tell this 19-year-old not to go to practice.
Yeah, and shout out to Carson Vinson and Alabama A&M, drafted in 2025. And that's a great point, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, there you go. Our running backs leading the nation in rushing yards, from Virginia Union. But also, another point.
I met his dad a couple of years ago at a Halloween party. He was dressed up like him.
Salute.
It was pretty dope.
But this is the other problem that, and this is where when you're planning, you can't be short-sighted, right? Because just 2 weeks ago, we had the Calais versus Louisiana ruling from the Supreme Court. So if this were to happen and players started not going to these SEC, these big-time schools, what you think going to happen? You know what I mean? The government going to get involved. You know what I mean? There's going to be punishments, not physically per se, but just from the standpoint of economics. You already got a president that's not letting officers go to Ivy League schools.
Yeah, they said Harvard is too woke. Even though the guy who was advocating for it, they were like, "You graduated from Harvard." He was like, and he kept. They were like, "No. Like, seriously, you went to Harvard. Now you're about to be the secretary of this, whatever this committee is. So what you're telling us is that your degree should be null and void because Harvard isn't good enough for." But it's like no one cared. Like they want to suppress as much as possible, and that's why that's why it's hard to come to some kind of solidarity. And most things are hard. Life is hard. Life is difficult. But like I said, my sons are 24, 22, and 18. There's no way I would be like, y'all should boycott your future, even though I didn't do it when I lived in the same America as you did. But
not only that, like, we couldn't even get rich people. We couldn't even get NFL players to boycott over certain things.
Yeah. And they have leverage.
And they got leverage. They got money. And we're telling these guys that are starting life, it's all up to you. And you know what I mean? And that's the problem. So, like, obviously, you would see schools like HBCUs, if that was the recourse, not getting funding. You know what I mean? And
if it was real, if it was fun, if all the NBA players or anyone who granted probably takes a lot, but if they just did what like the Negro Leagues did and they played what they called the Chitlin circuit, they just kind of played, hey, all you guys, all the HBCUs are pretty much from Maryland out to Texas.
Yeah, there's a few scattered, in other places.
For the most part, you're in that region. All right, cool.
Yeah.
We're only going to play these regional games. They're going to be on TV because ESPN wants to play it. They'll give you a contract. They just need funding. So if all the black athletes that go to LSU decided to go to Grambling, and all the ones that go to Bama decide to go to Alabama A&M or Alabama State, the Bama program will suffer. Just inevitable. Like, if you take the talent is the program. The program isn't the jersey and everything. It's the people who wear them. It's the guy who's 6'4", 265 pounds, who runs a 4.55 40. That guy is the reason that these coaches down.
But it goes back to,
and they owned all these car dealerships.
But it goes back to the penalties. It goes back to the penalties I was talking about, though. That's all great until your games aren't on TV, because like until you get blackballed, basically, or you know what I mean. Let's say it goes well. Like, you know what I mean. You don't think those NFL executives, saying aren't in cahoots with a lot of this stuff.
Executives want to sell tickets in Germany. They're gonna want the fastest black wide receivers on the field running deep routes. And
no, you're right, but you got to get to that point.
Listen, if they like I said, the NFL players have the most leverage in that boycott. But if you want it, you'll pay for it.
Yeah,
because let's keep it real. They don't put a lot of Montana versus North Dakota games on prime time. Let's keep it real. Those teams are winning the national championships in their division. They're not on TV a lot.
Yeah. Supply and demand, right?
So like the executives are telling you what they want. They don't want the average or the really good black athletes at HBCUs because they're really good athletes. They don't want the really good white athletes that play out in Idaho State and Montana State and Ohio. Look, what's the school in Ohio? Like the purple school or like Ohio Union or something like that.
I don't know. I know they got Youngstown
Mount
State.
Union.
Mount Union. Okay.
Yeah. All these schools, like they play great football. South Dakota, North Dakota. ESPN is not putting that on TV. CBS is not putting that on TV over Alabama versus whomever. Alabama could play a community college. They'll still put that on TV before they put two all white, majority white schools. And the same thing with HBCUs. They want the top tier talent to put on TV. So if the top tier talent had actual support that could help them in their leverage with the networks and the leverage with the schools and the leverage with the local governments, yeah, that's fine. But that leverage isn't established. So the people who already have money and who can call these shots, they can boycott. Or the people who already have money can say, you know what? I want to put on more than one weekend of HBCU football games. We want to do it. Hey, can you guys do Thursday night games? Just can we get you on ESPN on different days? ESPN can do that because we love football. America loves football. We'll watch it. We'll ignore all the racism and sit in that stand 105,000 deep in Death Valley and cheer and sing all the songs and wear the hats and paint your face and drink Trulies and shotgun beers. We'll do all that shit for 3 or 4 hours at a football game.
I ain't gonna lie.
Race excluded.
If I was a 5-star athlete, I would boycott Tennessee just off of Rocky Top. You know what I'm saying? That's just me, though. But, you know what I mean? He is the world-renowned, world-famous, cool, calm, collected. He was born in Texas, raised in VA. He's still wearing that damn hat. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's see the Knicks get something lodged in their throat. He is Mr. Logical.
Pause.
Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo, watching his Spurs, newly founded Spurs, play a great game. I don't know how
old dogs and new tricks, apparently, huh?
Yeah, I don't know how often, how many more times OKC can go on runs to get back into this game, though. But I am 2-5, going left a lot quicker than Gina Carano. This is Sports Reports as Ordered. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Liquid Death in Hand. Get you some Pina Colada. Check out Say Less, Say More. We are everywhere that you get your podcast. We will see you in a few days. We'll be back on Friday. Until then, we love y'all. Hold it down. Enjoy your basketball. Go Cavs. Sports Reports is Ordered. Out.
Hey! Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down.